morning, traders. Welcome to the daily webinar. This webinar will be on YouTube. So my YouTube viewers, I hope you enjoy what I do. By now, those people watching it knows me. If you're absolutely new to my YouTube channel, which means you just accidentally stumble on this video here, please go watch some more of the videos, because what we do is called wave analysis. It's a method that I have actually developed from all the other wave analysis method that I've learned, like Elliott wave. And so the one I'm doing is different. You might see some version of it looking alike out there, but this is something I have developed. So you know, if you really want to learn this stuff, you might want to watch some more of my free videos to make that decision, right? If you like it, please share it. You're going to help somebody else. Those are my regular viewers. Please help share it, because when you do, you help somebody who is looking for, you know, some method that is going to give them some help and guidance. And I think this one does. For my traders, you know, I'm hoping you guys can help share it as well. So let's go. Let's start. From last week's video, like I was explaining to my viewers last week, is that sometimes patterns have more than one option of how they can develop. And if you're watching this video, I'll give you a very quick lesson. So this is a bonus. Consider this a bonus if you stumble on this, or if you're one of my regular videos. Wave analysis is based on a system that nothing moves in straight line, right? Everything moves in waves. Light moves in waves, sun moves in waves. So is the chart, which means that everything has a behavioral pattern that moves in waves. They go up, they pull back, they go up, they pull back, they go up, they pull back, they go up. What is most important for us as traders is what happens in here. What happens in here? Because if we know what happens in here, we can always get this piece up. And because it's complicated, at some point it turns back to make bigger correction. So this would come back and make a much deeper correction. So it will turn like this and start to go back up, but it wouldn't break the top. It would probably come here and start to do this and then go. So if you're at here and you're thinking, well, we're going to get another one like that, that is okay. Buying here for thinking it's going to do this again is okay. Let me change the color to green. Let me change the color to blue so you can see, or yellow for red, so you can see. So if every time you bought here and it does this, you bought here and it does this, you bought here and it does that, you will definitely buy here, because your intention is that it's going to do this, but then it end up doing this. And this is where the knowledge of wave analysis comes in. When do you get the hell out of that? When do you realize that it's changing the structure? And how do you manage that trick? And that is where our group comes in. If you want to learn to do this the right way, and, you know, being with a lot of successful traders who are doing that, that is where my group comes in, and you can join us anytime. Just send me a Skype message. My Skype is type MANGAL 457. That's all. Find me on Skype, send me a Skype message. You can send me a Facebook message or something, but the Skype is better in that. So maybe I'll change Skype to something else later. But that's the idea. So let me start with silver. I want to show you the silver one, because I explained the same thing last week in the video, that this could change direction and you might not get the update, but we will have the update in our group. So once this starts to go up, it broke out of this structure. Your first thought, based on wave analysis, is that there is a chance we're totally going to go up and break the top. In between, you're going to get corrections like these. So that is normal. But when it starts to break out of this structure, you also have to think of whether this is going to retest this low before it does that. And then you have to say, whether is there a possibility based on the wave patterns for that to happen? And yes, there was a possibility. Sometimes there isn't that possibility, so you know you're in a correction, it's going to go. Sometimes there is a possibility where it could retest the low, and you don't know that. And that is where, you know, the complexity of wave analysis comes in. It's not as simple as I explained to you. You have to learn it, and when you learn it, you'll understand that. So what did we do when we saw this? If you go and watch my previous video, we were selling it. If you go and watch this video, we sold that. But we are also aware, we closed this in the trading room here, because we are aware that it could reverse. And we might still see this as a correction for upside, or a consolidation here for continuation. It made that move. This was the first buy we got in our trading room. This was the second buy we got on Friday. Now, this is the simplest, easiest way of buying it. Some of our traders got in earlier, but that's the experienced traders with the knowledge of entering with, you know, patterns earlier than that. So what you're looking for here is now is the same thing. What will be the clue? We're saying that, you know what, this could be a deep correction. We're literally now going to come and retest this top. this top here. So the assumption is that this could go all the way now to the top there, making a few corrections on the way, right? Just like this, made a correction, drop, but made a deeper one, but still come down all the way to the low. So this one, you can see the deep pull back in here, but it went to the top. So would this thing do something like this, make a deep pull back here and still go? Possible. But as long as you're in this bigger corrective structure in here, the idea is that we're trying to go out of it. Now, how this piece is going to go will determine whether we think we're making an impulsive move like this, or whether we're still within the correction to come back here and then go. This move will tell us, the structure, the nature of that move will tell us whether that is going to happen. Now, you just learned something about wave analysis. That's the basis of it. That's not you haven't learned wave analysis. You've learned the concept of it. That's the basis. Now, if you want to learn how to do that, you know what to do. Let's go. So right now we're looking for buy setups. And the minimum we would expect this to go, and I mean the minimum, is breaking this top. So at least today we will get a trade back to the top there. Now from that point, anything could happen. It could come back deeper or it could continue to go. So this week, I think we would get a trade to the upside. And if that happens today or tomorrow, you lost me on terms of what is going to happen next. My traders get updated on this 4 or 5 times a day, right? So they will have the update. You won't get the update. So we're getting not only daily update, but 4 or 5 times a day update, whereas you're not going to get that. In terms of the 15 minutes, one trade is about to happen already, which means the 15-minute trade, you probably let this pull back and go. But there's a deep pullback here. I think we do have a small one here. I still think there's a chance for another deep one and then continue to go look for a running flat here and then go. But this was a perfect flat. So if we get a running flat here, that would be a perfect one to go. Now, that doesn't mean you don't buy it because this could happen much, much, much higher than that. One of those long drawn out running flats. So I expect this to pull back a little here. And the 15, make a smaller flat here, and we can look for a buy setup on that. If this is the one that pulls back deeper, okay, we'll go with that. We go with this as the running flat, and we'll go for that trade up. Is this thing at any point going to stop here and turn to the downside? There's no indication of that. There's no pattern that we're looking at that says that could happen. So which means if that does happen, we don't have a sell setup, at least not as yet. Now, maybe by this afternoon or tomorrow, if that happens, we get a sell setup, but it's not there as yet. So we're not even looking at that option. Dollar index. Good. So this is what we wanted for dollar index. This should break out. This should break out. Both of those happen. This didn't go as far as we thought it would go. Right? The buy here was that it's going to go that. In the case of that, we would be out of the trade. Most times it will be break even. Sometimes when you realize it's going to turn, you will get out for profit. And in this case, we could have got out for profit. I'm not going to go into details of that, but this trade would have been a profitable trade, right? Not the profit you're looking for, but we're reversing. So when you see they make a sharp move back like this, you're thinking, well, what if this is just a 1, 2, 3, and this is going to drop much deeper, break out of that structure and drop deeper? Well, that's a sell setup. So we're looking for a sell setup here, unless, and again, unless this comes back to the top. And remember when we had this and we thought that would break out and then it came here, I was like, okay, let it come back to the top here. Let it come down and then we start to look for the buy setups. Same thing here. If this goes back to the top there, we want it to come back here, then we will continue with the buy with a big flat to the top here. But if this is to drop right now, which means within the next couple hours, if this thing is to consolidate here slowly like this, do this, and drop, that is a trade we will take. All right, so let's see. We're looking for a sell setup right now. We'll see what it gives us. Gold, this was a perfect one. And if you follow me, you will know. We watched it at this level when it came. We thought gold could drop lower, and then it went up. This was a buy setup for my traders. I think that was last week we had that buy setup. This one did this. You could see the setup for we had on Friday was this should come back here and then take off. It stopped exactly here. Why did I put the arrow there for it to stop? Break of the top. It's not magic. It's just, okay, let it go break the top. That was what the arrow for. It's when it break the top. So what happens when it breaks that top? Why am I looking for the break of the top? because this pattern here is very, very slow. When we get these slow movements, we assume we're in a corrective structure. So break of top could end that corrective structure as a 1, 2, 3. And that means this could come back here. See? That possibility exists. In silver, we're not looking for that possibility. Dollar index, I'm not looking for that possibility. Unless dollar index goes back to the top for a bigger flat. Right now, we're expecting it to continue to fall. So can this continue to go? Of course. But the possibility of this happening exists. So now you're equipped with that knowledge of what it could do. You're waiting for the setups to tell you which one you're going to get. If it consolidates here, makes a flag here, we're buying. Regardless of whether it goes all the way to where we want it or it just stop here and turn. And that is a possibility. I just showed you one of them that went, but it didn't went to the target we want. It actually stopped, turn earlier, you get out of the trade. This is it. We're expecting this to go up high, but what if it just comes here and stop and go back down? Okay, you get in the trade, you get out of the trade, and now you wait for the sell setup to go. Right? I still think, I'm still convinced that the higher probability of this is downside. Whether it goes up some more or not is irrelevant. And there are many reasons for that. I'm not going to go through it here again because I did it already in my previous video. So if you saw this video accidentally the first time, go back and look at the videos at this date, and at this date. Right, look at the weekly videos and you would see that once we see this sharp wave and we saw this, we assume we're making a big flat. Euro USD. Okay, we finally broke the low. So the idea was we're not looking for buy setups in this move until we actually break the low. So you can, if you saw a line here for the break of the low and then the arrow showing that when we break that low, the possibility, right, of this thing coming back to the top there exists. And why is that? Well, simple. We assume that this could become one of those running flats we have seen in the past. It's very simple. These are patterns we know. We have seen them in the past and we assume that this could repeat that option. So if it gives us all the features of possibility of it's going to repeat that, great, we'll take the trade. So we go back to the 4-hour, allow it to break the low. If you sold, you'll be careful, you'll get the hell out of it. It was a sell setup. My traders know that, and they know that once it breaks that low, you better be careful, move your stops, get out of the trade, do whatever you have to do. And now we're getting a buy setup. So if this consolidates here within this level, takes off, we will be in that buy. If it comes back to the low here, remember this one here? If you go back and watch the webinar, I say if this stays here and go, we will be in the buy. Although we wanted it to break the low. But if it does that, if it comes back deep into this move, we'll expect a flat and one more down. We'll expect a correction and one more down. This would go, but if it does come deeper, if this comes deeper like this one, go back there, this becomes a flat and one more down. We'll sell this, but once it breaks this low and come a little lower, we'll take it off. Well, because this will start to be a channel if that happens. Some kind of either an ending diagonal or a channel. And if either of those form, it's going to take off to the upside. But if it goes from here, we'll be in the trade. Pong. I think you can see the buy setup forming already. If you follow me, you already start figuring out these things. Now we're looking for a buy there. We didn't break the low. I thought we'd go and break the low. Let's see what happens why we didn't break the low. Take that off. I thought this would make another flag and go and break the low. Well, actually, it doesn't have to break the low. It could break it, but it doesn't have to break the low because if you're going to make a bigger correction here, you could just do this and then drop. If you're coming back to the top, they can do that and we'll have a flat there for downside. Now, I think one of the opinion on my YouTube channel, one guy said, well, he thought there's a bigger running flat there. We saw that already. I mean, you're a little naive if you think we didn't look at that option. So we did look at this option for a running flat. That this could be a 1, 2, 3, but there were a few factors at this point here that we looked at that didn't make it look like that. And I am not sure it is that still. We still don't, because we have this possibility for a bigger expanding flat, running flat in this area. This could be a separate one of its own. This could be the low and this could come back up here. If it makes another flat, we'll go with another flat. So there's also the option of watching it from this one. Is this the possibility for a bigger running flat? Can we go with that bigger running flat? That possibility. Well, in that case, this would have to make a correction here and break the low. And if that happens, then we would either go with this one or we will go with this one and see whether that gives you an upside. Only if it starts to go up. If it makes a flat here, it negates both of those, which means if we don't break the low and this goes back up, then the pattern that would be created would actually negate the possibility of any of the running flats, and this would be total downside. Pretty simple. So there are a number of options of how you look at the patterns. Which one of them exactly is the correct one, because they can all be correct at this moment, right? The next piece is what confirms, okay, which one of those is the correct one. And then you can get it. It's like taking a mosaic of anything and taking all pieces, putting pieces at a time, and you have to decide, okay, what is that thing? And the more pieces you put on, the closer you get to understand, okay, that is exactly what I'm looking at, right? I don't know, a truck, a car, anything. As you put the pieces on, the mosaic is Russian word, right? I think a mosaic is the English word. I hope I got that right. Sorry, I might have just come out with a Russian word there, right? So I think you got the idea of what I'm saying. I just realized I just called a Russian word. Yeah. So basically, yes, you will get an idea. It still looks, this whole piece still looks very corrected. If you look at a bigger picture, this whole piece, it's not looking like a big impulse to the downside. What it's looking like is you're making a big flat here to go up. Now, sometimes they do look like that at the start, like this piece here. You would look at this piece and think this is a correction for downside. But then it keeps doing that, keeps doing that. So this could keep coming here and pulling back and pulling back and pulling back. And we would have a series of running flat in there. As a matter of fact, we actually did this, and there was a series of running flats in it, all of which would have ended with this one big running flat, which would be this. That's the final one. And there's a series of them inside of it. So you would get 1, you'd get 2, and you'd get 3. Pretty simple, right? Like this one here. This was a big running flat here. And we might eventually end up with a big running flat here, right? If this just keeps doing this, make a deep one, and then you might get a drop like that. I don't know what it's going to be, so we'll have to wait and see. But we can trade pieces of it. So right now, it's a buy setup. The buy trade might not be a big one, because if you're making a flat, if this is making a bigger flat here, this might not go very far. It might just go like this. But if it goes like this, that is your trade. Go for it. So it's a buy setup here. And this is an easy one. This is not a difficult one. You've got a reversal. You've got everything perfect, right? You had an impulse down. You have an impulse up. You're getting a correction. What technical traders like to call head and shoulders. We call it impulse correction impulse. It's pretty easy. Aussie could continue to drop. I don't think Aussie is going to go up as yet. At least we will get some more drop to about this level before we make any attempt to go up, even if we think this is making more waves in it like this, right? Continue back one more up. Possible, not necessarily possible. But can it make a deep pullback before that happen? Yes, especially if it's a corrective structure going down. Should we buy this? No. If it consolidated, give us a sell setup, we'll take it. If it's a buy, ignore it. New Zealand did not go lower, and we're in this big possible correction. Very big one here. This is going really slow. So I don't know, we'll have to just wait and see how it behaves. I thought it was a running flat for one more. At this point, we thought this would make a big running flat here, go back one more, break the top, and then come down. That didn't happen, so we go with a contracting flat in here. Assuming this is making correction, you can see these corrections to downside. This one is pretty sharp. So if this is going to make any attempt to go up, it has to break out of this structure, literally. Break out of the structure, make a flag, and then we'll buy to break the top. If it just comes here, any sell setup at the top, there will be a sell. Once we stay in this downtrend, any sell setup from the top, we'll take. Right, so anytime we get a sell setup from the top here, we'll take that trade down. Swiss. Okay, it did break out, and I think you guys might not get this update because we tracked this piece here. We saw what it was doing. When this broke out, we were very careful that this could be a flat, and this could give you one more down to the downside here, right? Break the low again. It's a very short trade, because if you look at the patterns, the way they're going, they make a new high, come break the low, go back up, break the low, go back up, they go back very deep into the structure when they break the low. So you see me put this line here. Once you see that line there, you know what I'm thinking. this line here, so you can look at this as a flat, and that's why we had the line that if it comes down and it starts to make a consolidation in here, if this becomes a consolidation, we will sell to break this low and take profit. We had a few trades like that we took. This one to break this low and then take profit. I think there was one more before that. This one was a breakout to see if this was going to take off. It didn't take off. That was a profitable trade. If this is to go back up, if this becomes a bigger running flat here, let's say 1, 2, 3, and this is going back up, you would have to allow this to go up some more, make a flag somewhere here, convince us that it's taking off, and then go for that trade. So you could also get a buy setup here. But because of the big flat at the bottom here, it's rare that that one is going to take off. It happens, but it's rare. We know those structures. We see them. Let me see if I can find one with a big flat somewhere at the top of the bottom, but it still went. This might not be the perfect example, but you can find one here, for example. You've got a very big flat form at the top here with a sharp move like this, and it still came down lower. And that sharp move actually went to make a running flat somewhere else. We'll look at that. So when you see a big flat at the bottom here, and we're thinking, well, you know, this might just be a flat. It goes back there, it could still drop. That's your thought process. This is just a flat, but sometimes it could just take off. So we'll keep an eye for the takeoff. We'll keep an eye for the sell. The sell is short-lived. So if it's a sell, it's only to break this low. Eventually it will go up because this type of structure eventually do go up. If it goes up from here, that'll be a wonderful buy. Don't miss the buy. CAD. Okay, we're getting a lot of consolidation at the top there. I think we might get a chance of coming down back. Once more, retest the low like this. This would be a big flat, something like 1, 1, 2, 3. This came back, go break the top. It's coming down slowly, but it's coming down. So if this comes down like this, we'll probably go back up. If it drops like this, we'll make a new low and then go. Let's see what we have in the 15 because the 1 hour is not clear. 15 is giving you a sense that you're making some kind of a flat here. Not the best flat for the sell, but you can go with it because then we'll go with a contracting flat in there. We never had a new top. This is the highest. If this just consolidates to go up, you don't have a good buy setup. You'd have to let it make a real good pattern, which means you'll have to go back, come back a little high here, drop here, go back up, and then we get a buy setup. So if you're selling this, it drops here, start to go back up, you'll take the break-even trade. We'll see how this goes. Looks downside. Yen, sorry. Yen came down. It didn't break the low, but it didn't have to break the low. It just had to break. It had to come between these two. And that was enough. Either this low or this low, either is good. So any buy setup here now would be perfect to the top. There is no sense of selling this. This is not going to go. See that sell Friday? That was a sell setup there on Friday, but that was only to break either of these two lows, take profit, get the hell out of the trade. Because after that, this pattern is definitely upside. That's a big, big, big corrective structure. Now, it's qualified in terms of patterns as at this point that pattern is complete and it could go up. Any buy setup here will be definitely taking. To the downside, can it go lower? Yes. We have the requirements that it's complete, but that doesn't mean it's finished, right? It could continue to go down lower. I don't think we'll be selling this, at least not of yet, because the downside is very small. Any buy setup we get will take. Can it become more complicated? Can this thing actually work its way up like to the top here and then come back down and then go back up and then come back down and then go? Absolutely. We'll trade it both ways. Most likely any buy setup we get will take. Any buy setup we get will take because one of them will break out. So the buy setup is a must. The sell is well. You'll decide where you are in the structure for risk to reward. Euros. It's going up as a correction to the big trend. We have a very big move here, and we're correcting that move. Right now, it's going sideways. Nothing much. I don't think we have any buy or sell setup as such. Take this off. It's kind of going sideways there. I can see this coming back a little, but looks potentially like they're going to make one more up. If you take any trade here, it will be short term. Either the buy or the sell is short term until we have a big pattern here. We just have one piece that is dying out. Starting to turn. Euro New Zealand. Okay, we might be in a bigger correction here right now. if this is a sell setup, but you have to be very cautious about it. This is a sell setup forming here, but you have to be cautious once it comes to this level, because this could be a flat that goes up one more. So when I see structure like that, I'm thinking that if that is a running flat and we sold at the bottom here, let's say this is a running flat forming. Let's say this is forming, 1 second, let's just get it. If you looked at that as a possible running flat, which is, you can look at this as a 1, 2, 3, we're going down totally, that's a good sell. It's going to drop to the bottom. But what if that is making a running flat here? It's just going to come to this level, go back up, and then drop. So if you know that, if you have that information and you're selling, you're aware as to where you have to look at this chart very carefully in case it's decide to turn. I will get it to break even. If it drops, great, I'm in the trade. If it turns, okay, I got a break even trade, I'm aware of it. Knowledge is power. Knowing something makes you aware of what you have to do. That's the point about wave analysis. It's not about giving you the best trade, right? It's about making you aware of what the chart is doing at any point in time so you can understand the type of patterns that exist, how it can behave, and if you're in the trade, what you should be cautious of. That's all. You have an edge in the market, right? EuroCAD still going sideways. We're in a big sideways here. This is actually easy to trade, you know. We traded this down. We didn't trade this up. We thought this could come lower and then go back up. Well, it's not. We're still in the B wave. So this goes up, make a new high, sell it again. Don't buy it, sell it. This is going to go up, make a new high here. But then we get another sell setup. And if that doesn't break the low, it has to come break this low, go back up, come back down, and then we'll sell. We'll go. So every time it comes to the top, we sell. Every time it makes a new top, you'll sell. This is going to make a new high. Euro Swiss. Okay, this was a buy. It didn't go as far as we expected, but it's still within the sideways, so you can take that off. This was a buy setup. You definitely took profit out of that. Take that off, take this off, and take this off, because we had two setups, right? I think you guys remember the two setups. One of them is we're thinking this could be a smaller one, and the other one is we think this could be the bigger one. I'm more inclined to believe we got the smaller one. We got 1, 2, 3. And we could look at 1, 2, 3. Can this go back up here and give you the bigger one? I think that is possible. So if we get a buy setup again today, you could consider that. Actually, you're getting it. If you get it, this piece is not looking good for the buy. But if you get the buy, consider it. It's just going to do that and then go for the sell. So if we get the sell, we'll take it. Let it go up some more. And if it makes a sell setup, we'll go with that trade. If it just keeps staying in this range, ignore it for now. Eventually, it might be either making a big running flat and drop, or it's making an ending diagonal or some kind of an ending channel. We'll see. Euro yen, any buy setup we'll take. Right now, we don't have a buy setup. Any sell setup, you'll have to consider it. Right? If it makes a sell setup, it has to go back to the top here. I think we'll consider the sell not from the bottom here, but if they go back to the top, then yes, you can consider a sell. That would make sense, because from here to there, you got risk to reward. From here, it can just drop, break the low, and go back up. You don't have risk to reward, so we ignore the sell at this point. Europa? Okay, so if you took that one, you took break even. By rule, you follow. You remember what I said. You ignore this. You let this happen. You close the trade. Now, are we making a bigger flat there for upside, or are we making a flag to drop? That's a call you have to make. So I'll take this out, and you would decide whether this is going to drop here or is going to come here and go back up. Now, based on the entire structure, I think that would be an easy decision as to what to do, right? And if you look at the bigger structure, remember we were buying this to come back to the top here. And then from that point, it can drop. Now, it doesn't have to get exactly to the top there. Can it drop from this point? Yeah, possible. We could go with that. That would settle what we're looking for if it does that. Can it go higher? Absolutely. So taking this sell, and if it makes a flat, exit the trade, makes sense. So we can sell this, and if it just comes here and go back up, we'll close the trade. We know how to do that. Right? Use a stop that is bigger. And if it drops here and you put the break even, you keep that trade. If it drops to the bottom, that's your trade. Let's see what it's giving us. Pause. You've got a break even here. So let's see what are the other options we can get. Look at this as a bigger flat in the middle here. That was a small one. I really don't like when they do this with one flat and then immediately into another flat. So you made a flat here, you drop, immediately you're making a next flat. I don't know, you can give it a try, but that's a B part of it. This would be the impulse. One flat, two flat, you probably make another one here. Drop, go back up, and then drop. So get a bigger flat here. That's the most likely. So if you're gonna try to sell this here, just be cautious that it might not go very far. Pound New Zealand. Okay, this one is okay, it's going. So we'll have to look for, we don't have anything for this. I don't think we can put it with this one. It doesn't make sense, but this is a perfect flat of its own. So I think at some point this would have to go back up and do that to give us this running flat and then the drop. So if you're selling this and that was a sell setup, if you're in that sell, I think some of you might be in that sell. I could see it very clearly. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't sell it. You actually have a flat there for a sell. There was one here for a sell as well, but you just have to be cautious. Move it to break even, and then slowly, if it starts to turn, you can go. If it gives a buy setup here, let's say that it comes here and then go back and give you a flag here, would you take that trade? I think we can do that. A flag at the bottom half, we'll take it to the top. If it goes up and make a flag here, we'll ignore it, let it break it up, and then look for the sell. Okay. Okay, we broke the low. Take that off. Take this off. And we came actually to where we wanted it to go based on the arrow. That arrow is from the previous. Oh no, that's just showing you to break the low, both of them. This one to break the low. This one is a shorter version from this one to break the low. That was a trade. Come back to the daily, we finally broke the low. So if we get a turning point here, I think we did this in the trading room in details. If we get a turning point here, we're starting to buy this back to the top. It will not go in one straight line, but we'll buy it. Let's see where it goes. We can assume that if this is a flat, this is gonna go. This is your impulse. A buy here is not a bad idea. If it turns out that it comes deeper like this, then we ignore that buy, we let it go back up there, and then we sell. That would be the option. But if it goes from now, it's a good buy setup. Pound Swiss. Nope, you don't have anything here. You got a break-even trade, take it off. Actually, you could have closed it for profit. I remember that one when it dropped. When we took it here, it dropped. But if you close it for break-even profit, it doesn't matter. If you, well, you could have also taken a small loss if you're not paying attention. And your stop, the stop wasn't there. The stop, I think, was here. But if you kept the stop there, no problem. That'd be a very small loss. You could have closed it somewhere in the middle here. If you take 1, 2, 3, this is where you would have closed it before you got the top broken. Right? But even to that, this was a very small trade. We knew the risk of it. And we're getting another bigger sideways. So we're getting a bigger one like this now. Because we've got an impulse up. We're getting the repeat of the same thing. We're getting a flag here. See this flag here? We're going to have a drop, then we're going to go back up, and then we get another sell setup. If they repeat this one, it's almost 1 for 1 if they do. So should we sell this? This one was a sell because you're at the top. This one is at the bottom of it. This is your impulse. This was the impulse. You're at the top of the impulse. When we sold that, we sold it to probably come back to about this level and then go up. So worst case would have been a break even. If it was going to be a running flat, it would be profit. Same thing here. But now if you sell this here and it drops only to this level and go back up, you might be tough to get break even. If it's going to make a running flat only, then you actually get something out of it, right? If it's a running, if it's not a running flat, you have to really be quick at getting out of it. So we'll make that decision in trading room. Sorry. Pang Yen. This one did drop, pull back. That was a sell again, right? It pulled back, so you got another sell setup. Drop, close this. We broke the low here. Sorry, this was this one from here, and this one from the previous top. We broke the previous weekly top, right? So we're going down. I think all sell setups will work. After this drop so sharp, all sell setup here will work. Any sell setup we get, we can go for it. So this one drop, pull back. There was a second sell setup here. These were short, very short. Remember, we said we'll go with those short. I think we might be able to look at this as a running flat. This does fit the criteria for running flat here. We could go with that assumption. And that means we can go with sell setups in here. If that break, you want to sell. If it pulls back deeper, we look for a sell. Aussie yen. Okay. What were we looking for? Oh, we will consider whether we can look at this as a running flat. I think we'll have to go with that, which means we have a sell setup here. We can go with a sell setup here, right? If we assume that it's going to go deeper, I think it's worth it. If this drop deeper, that's a good trade. If it goes up higher from here, we'll wait for a flag and then we'll buy. You would need a flag before you buy. Aussie CAD. Okay, this dropped much lower than expected, but we're making another running flat. So if this drop one more, we'll go with that running flat there. Put an entry here for a sell. You know where to put the stop, you know where your target is. Aussie Swiss, downside, keep selling. It might eventually break this low, we'll see. Every flag we get, we can sell. Aussie New Zealand, sell setups. Wait, you don't have any now, we may wait for another flag and then sell that, sell setup is gone. Canadian. Okay, this one would have tagged you and you'd have closed it because it was there for like 6 hours, take it off. Wait for another pullback, wait for a deeper pullback and then we'll go for a sell. We're still in this big sideways move downwards. So I would probably allow this to go back deeper here. And then look for that sell. Cat Swiss. It's still a sell. We're not breaking out. So if you get this sell set up, you can take it. We're breaking into bigger structure. Break of the bigger structure could mean much more downside. See? If we break this bigger structure, we'll probably come back and retest this low. So any sell setup here is a good idea. And you might be getting one here now. If that drops from this point, it's good. If it breaks that up, it's over. It's a big correction for upside, right? So let's see. Swiss yen. You're getting a sell setup. It's kind of consolidating here. You can see that. Look for a drop. New Zealand yen. Sorry. This pulled back pretty deep. Can we assume that it is going to totally go out now because we have a complete flat? We have 1, we have 2, we have 3. Can this actually go make a new high? Break out of this structure. I'm going to put the second impulse for the breakout. Sorry, take that one. I'm looking for the other line. So if we get buy setups, if it breaks here, you can sell. I will assume one more impulse, but if they make a flag here, that becomes a buy setup to the top. And from there, it will either break out or go back down. So any buy setup becomes a trade. Any sell setup is, well, maybe. Because if this drop is just one more drop and it up. New Zealand Swiss, look for buy setup. I think you can see that. Look for flags here to buy. New Zealand CAD. It's going up more, so we'd assume that this is making a bigger correction, right? Kind of a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This is a 1, 2, 3 back to the top here, and from here we'll see whether they come back down or if it takes off. So if you get any flag at the top there on the 1 hour, you had flags already, you don't have any right now. The buy setup, if anybody was tracking, the buy setup would have been here and the buy setup would have been there. When it comes to this top, if it makes another flag, we buy. If they reverse, make a flag, we sell. So you can get both sides. It's in a correction. We don't know if it's over. Sell setup. Nope, you probably don't want to sell it. There is a sell setup here, but it's probably just going to drop here and go back up because we're in a big sideways movement here. See that? Let it break the structure, make any flag under here before you sell. This could go right back up here, make a new high, and then drop. It's going to drop. The bigger structure is downside. There's no question about this. But the question is whether this piece only comes here and then go back up and then drop. That's the question. So if you're going to take any sell setup, let it break out of the structure, consolidate, and then sell. Yep. UK oil, we eventually got this to go back up. So you can look for a big running flat here now. They didn't give you a sell setup. We were assuming that if it just consolidates here and drop, that would be a sell. Coming back to the top here, it means we're probably making a bigger flat, right? A much bigger flat. So at this point, it's either come back one more and then go, or consolidate here and then go. And that would depend on how we look at the B wave in the middle. Because there are more pieces to it. You can either make it one big B wave, or you could assume that you're still in the B wave, which means all of this would be part of a bigger correction. Yes, oil, same thing. Very similar structure. You can take it from the top, you can take it from there, you can take it from this point. And we're still in some kind of a big sideways move. And it's not clear if this is a B wave in here. One more down and then go. Or if this piece is the end of the structure and this is just going up slowly. So if we get a flag here, a flag in this area here would be a good buy setup to the top and then hope that it breaks out. Right? If it just starts to drop, we will get a bigger consolidation, and that means this becomes just a bigger correction. Natural gas, one more upside probably, just consolidate here. Give you one upside and then come back. Not a big move, but might be worth taking. US 30. Okay, this moved up a little more. We had a running flat. We had this running flat here. I think this running flat, we looked at that. So this was a buy setup from here, but you probably got break even on that because it pulled right back into that thing if you took the trade. So what we want this to do today is come back a little here and then go back up. We'll go with this running flat. If it comes a little down, we can look for buy setup. S&P 500. We're not really looking for any running flat here, so this could be a sell setup. This here could be a sell setup, and you probably want it to go back slightly to this area, make a flat, and then look for a drop. Once it drop, you move your stop very tight because they do make big drops and then come right back up, right? So we've seen that before. Really big drop. See this drop here? This one, let me just mark that. See this drop here, and then put it to yellow. And then they went right back up. So even if you get a big drop here, I would say it's going to be start of a bigger correction and then go back up, right, eventually. Nasdaq still climbing, so every flag you get for a buy you can take. There is a small short-term correction happening here, probably something bigger like this. I would see they go back here and then come here, and that should be a good trade setup. That should be a very good buy. PayPal. Okay, we're about to break the low. Let it break the low, then look for your buy setup, right? Amazon. One more spike up. Well, we finally get to break this stop. And we're in this structure. I can see this coming back here, probably going back there and then dropping here. So if you get a sell setup here, it's a trade back to the low. We'll probably go back to the top, make a bigger flat, drop here. 1, 2, 3, and then we'll go back up. Or we'll break through the bottom, depending on how we look at it. Right? Depending on how we look at this whole piece. DAX, maybe more up. Yep, it's consolidating. You can go for more up. Kind of a running flat here. More buys. AU 200, nothing here is yet until it breaks the top, then we look for the sell. Nifty, coming down. So probably you get another sell setup here. You got a flat, you got a flat. That's in the 15 or in the 1 or what it looks like. Yeah, it looks like a flat for a sell. Looks like flat for a sell setup. Okay, it's finally, sorry guys, it's finally going up, but this is a running flat. Let's see if we get to the top there. Makes another flat, buy the trade. If it goes sharp, you'll be probably out of this flat in no time. If they stop there, they can come back here. Looks really good for the upside. Reliance. More downside. You have a running flat for a sell here. I think you can see that. And it's making a flag. We've got a running flat here. This could drop. Tesla, one more buy. Every impulse now you take, every correction and every impulse you take, treat it as if they're going to make the last impulse. Because I don't know, we don't know at what point you're going to have a deep pullback. And you will get it. They're 90% of the time, they always make this deep pullback for a running flat. So eventually you might get it somewhere here for a running flat. We're going to go with this impulse. That is the impulse you're looking at. So wherever it starts to pull back, and this one is going to be the pullback, and then you get it. So right now, it's a buy setup, which means one more impulse up. This one is definitely giving you one more up. And let's see what we have here. Copper. Stay away from it. It's useless, it's not going anywhere. Bitcoin, go back up. That was a good buy setup. I think we saw this. And you have an entry there. So you've got to move up, you've got to pull back, got to move up, got to pull back, got to move up. And you're in this one here. And all of that is in here. So the question is, how do we look at this piece at the top here? Right, you've got to pull back. Looks like we might be making a flat here, which means if this has a one pull back here and one pull back here, and they could probably come back here and then go make a bigger flat, something like this. And you'll have one more up. Remember, this is the top from where the big sharp moves start. And we haven't had a second big sharp move, right? We haven't had a second move down. This is the move down, and we haven't had a second one. So even if this goes break the top, at any point it could make another correction, go make another one, and at some point it's going to do this and go. See? So if you're looking at it, it will have to come way back here into the 40s and then go. Question is, from where does it come back? Does it come back from this point, or does it come back from, I don't know, some other point? Right now it's upside. You're breaking the 67 again. So another flag and buy. Yeah, I think most of you, if you're trading cryptos and you're into this would be a buy setup. I would be careful once it comes to the top. Simply because from that point we can come back here and then go. So yes, you can come back. The lines I drew there is not any direction of how far it is going to go, right? ETH, yep, it came down a little, but then went back. So this one was a sell setup here. And then that was a buy setup. Wait for another buy setup like that, take the trade, right? It will still come back for this. They're all in that sideways move. But for now, it's going up. So at some point, all of this here, all of that will come back for a deeper correction like this at some point. We don't have any setup for that for now. XRP, okay, one more up. This one did break out. It made another flag and it goes one more up, broke the top again. I still see this more as a big correction within this move here. See? So if you're going to buy any flag here, you have to take it with caution. This was a good buy setup, I think. This here was a good sell. It dropped, and then when it started to pull back, you could close the trade here. Look for this buy setup. Look for that buy setup. Aussie USD looks downside. We've got to move up. We've got to move down. We've got to 1, 2, 3. We've got to move down. This could probably go here and then drop a little more. So if we get a buy setup, you can go for it. Nope, not as yet, but we can assume that that is a buy. What if that is actually the top? What if this is the top and this is coming down? See? So we'll see. We'll see if that is the top. This is actually going to drop. So let's wait for this and see if it starts to drop. This sell is a good idea. This is a correction. It will drop eventually. You can see they're going up very slowly here, and we'll have a flat because when it drops here, we're going to go right back up. Right? When this drops, you're going to go right back up like this. See this deep pullback, that deep pullback. So when this come here, you're going to probably get another pullback, come here, and then go. We're making a correction here. We made a correction here. We made a smaller correction here. We made a bigger correction here. Okay. So those are all corrections within that channel. That's it. Dash. Okay, we're making one more up. We can assume that this here is going to go up one more. Look for a buy setup. Breaks the top. Take the trade. Link. Also very corrective back at the top. I would not buy it here. I'll be looking for sell setups from that point because this correction would eventually come back here and then go. And then go. Okay, we're correcting, but very, very deep, way back to the top. So we'll have to look for a better entry here if we're going to go for any trade here. Let's say in the 1 hour. No good entry, not for the buy, not for the sell. LTC. Okay, we're going up one more. Take that out. Take this out. You're getting one more up. Wait for a flag here. Buy. And when it breaks the stop, start to look for the sell. Can they break this top first? I think, yeah, you can also go break that top first. Still in a big correction. And TRX. Look for the sell. Doesn't matter that this is spiking up a little here. Look for the sell setup because this is very corrective. Look for the sell setup. Let's break the top first. It will break the top. You can see that this is going to go break the top. Is it? Let it go break the top and then look for the sell. So, okay, guys, I managed to do all of them in about an hour plus. I know some of you traders only watch part of this because you trade only cryptos or you trade only metals or you trade only oil. That's okay. But if you like the analysis, please share it. Thank you very much. My YouTube traders have a great week ahead. Be cautious because structures can change. And for all the traders in my group, I would see you as soon as I close. So what we'll do, we'll close the room and then we'll come right back in. I'll see you in the room again. Take care.